All right, so a lot of the general public really dislikes NIL, or at least that's what we hear about a lot. Is that people are really unhappy with NIL? They don't like the transfer portal for sure. I'm going to focus on NIL in this video and tell you the biggest effect that it's had on college football so far, because I think there's a lot of I know there's a lot of misunderstanding about NIL. I mean, obviously, I've talked about this a lot, but I've participated in some NIL deals that were very successful for both sides, I would say. Um, but the biggest thing I think that's changed, and this is a quantifiable number, more guys are staying in college, period. I mean, that is the biggest thing. You can see it, it's tangible. There were 85 underclassmen that declared in the 24 draft. And of the, the guys like Javon Bullard, Lab McConkey, uh, etc., Brock Bowers, those guys went on to the NFL as underclassmen. They still, have eligibility. Carson Beck did not. Why did Carson Beck stay? Why did Quinn Ewers stay? Why are guys sticking around? That underclassmen number, that is half the average, according to Yahoo Sports. That is half the average that it was from 2016 to 2022. The average was cut in half this year. That's amazing. That is an amazing reality. The truth of the matter is that Deion Sanders is right about this. There is a difference between NIL and collectives. And really what's going on here is it's the collectives that are I guess funneling sounds like a bad word, but it's the combination of the ability to have NIL and collectives getting those deals to players. That's what's keeping guys around. But let me just listen. So Carson Beck as an example. Carson Beck, if you're Carson, I cannot imagine, and I do not, this is not me reporting this. This is just, off the top of my head. I cannot imagine that Carson Beck was paid lower than $1 million to stay at Georgia. I cannot imagine that at all. So if you're Carson Beck and you look at the situation for him, or you're Quinn Ewers, okay, and in front of you, in theory, you've got Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and Caleb Williams, all three of which are likely going to be going in the top, say, 15 of the NFL draft. Why not let them go, pocket the money, and then go on to, in theory, be the number one overall draft pick next year, which would look at a significant payday versus, say, going in the beginning of the second round. We don't know yet. I'm looking it up as we go here, but the rush, if you want to call it rush, probably the wrong way to put it. The incentive to go to the NFL is lower now than it's ever been before for high level players, specifically quarterbacks. But what do I mean by that? Okay, so let's just say you're Carson Beck and you pocket that $1 million. It's more than that, but let's just say you pocket that money. In 2023, Bryce Young's total deal of his NFL contract was right on top of $38 million. His signing bonus, which was the only thing guaranteed in that money, was $24.6 million. In 2024, Spotrac, I think is the way that you pronounce it, is suggesting that the 2024 number one overall draft pick will get a $38.5 million total guaranteed contract with 24.8 total guaranteed. So total value and guaranteed are not the same thing. 24.8 in signing bonus, which is the guaranteed money this year. Last year it was 24.6. So 200 G's. Not nothing, Matt DeBerry money, but not irreplaceable. And that's the point, is now the colleges can legitimately match what the NFL could in theory have. You have certainty with the colleges. If you're Carson Beck or Quinn Ewers, you are the starting quarterback at that school. If you're DJ Uiagalelei, why would you go to the NFL when you can go to Florida State, get another NIL deal, and in theory go from a fourth round guy to a third round guy? This is all predicated on going higher, which most guys do, for the record, when they come back. Most guys, Vontae Wyatt, Jordan Davis, I think Nakobe Dean may be the exception. I mean, I don't even know if I'm probably not right about that, but those two other guys, they definitely added value in that when that happened. So here's Georgia just now announcing G Day. Okay. Um, I think the big thing about NIL is that if you dislike that, if you dislike change or new, obviously you'll dislike NIL. But guys have been getting paid for a long, long time. Guys have been getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay, this is not that part. It's just not new. And the guys that are getting paid $1 million deals, that's not normal. That's not a normal thing. So y'all are seeing Carson Beck going and getting a Lamborghini. Well, that's not. I mean, I'm just looking. Mikael Williams isn't doing that. Nazir Stackhouse isn't doing that. That's not normal. There are huge, high level players, NIL deal. No one. This I don't mean this bad. So when you see me, take it easy, all right? But no one knows who Nazir Stackhouse is. I mean, compared to Carson Beck, nobody knows who Nazir Stackhouse is. So the value of Nazir Stackhouse is lower than that of Carson Beck. Good example of someone I've done a deal with who's was very generous in that time, and vice versa, by the way. But did anyone know who Keely Ringo really was nationally, and even in Georgia before he made the pick six? No, that exploded his value. That exploded. And that's the good thing, if you want to call it that, about all of this. Everybody is able to capitalize on the work that they're doing. It doesn't hurt my feelings at all. We were not allowed to work as scholarship athletes. We were not permitted to do that. It was insane. You could not earn money as a scholarship athlete in the 90s. Well, not even that long ago, really. So I'm glad that this is moving forward, but the ramifications from it aren't all bad. Now, there is some bad with it. There's no question. The number one complaint that you hear from assistant coaches is a lot of these guys just want to talk about, NIL deals. What can we do for them with an NIL deal? Well, I mean, that's probably pretty annoying for someone who's recruiting someone to develop them for the NFL. That probably is quite annoying. But the fans don't see that. The fans don't see any of this hardly, except they see their favorite player come back, or there's a new there's new hope, because where would Georgia be right now without Carson Beck as its starting quarterback? There would be some decisions to be made. Would Brock Vandergrift be gone? Probably not. Would Dylan Raiola be at Nebraska? Probably not. There's ramifications from NIL, and that's one of them. But I think it's obviously not going anywhere. This is something that the Supreme Court has ruled on. There's no real, Georgia seems to be gliding into figuring this out, just like everybody else. The collective part of it, of which I don't have much in the way of expertise, to be honest with you, that I don't know if anybody does, to be frank. That is the hardest part of this puzzle to figure out, because I think even for the collectives, we don't know. There's not been clear guidelines. I don't know enough about it. I do this every day. I'm not sure if you can see around the corner if you're a collective to move forward. Certain schools are doing certain things. Others, we're seeing both Florida and Florida State getting. Is it Tennessee? Is Tennessee, Florida, and Florida State? I can't remember. I think it's Tennessee, Florida, Florida State. I think the Tennessee president is exactly right. I can't figure it out. And if the president of an institution can't figure it out either, there's a problem there. But it does have the ramification of things of guys staying and not going into the NFL, because I think Carson Beck the NIL part, my understanding is it just sort of made it easier to stick around because he could have left for sure. Where would he be right now? I mean, is he really worse than Drake May and Jaden Daniels as a quarterback? I mean, I'm not sure I believe that necessarily. Caleb Williams is definitely a better prospect than Carson Beck. The problem for Carson Beck is he does not have a lot of starting games. He only has 15 games where he started. So the NFL likes that number around 25-ish, gives you a big body of work. I mean, you look at just for instance, the Georgia Tech game, Carson Beck, only threw the ball. I don't even think he threw it 30 times in that game. That's just an example. I mean, it's not. It's so they want to see as many repetitions and so forth as possible. But I think when you look back on the bad of NIL, there's also good. I mean, the bad of NIL is for me the recruiting part. It makes it very tricky for people to know, for the assistant coaches and I guess the head coaches, therefore, to know really what's going on in all these things. I don't know. I don't think it's all bad or all good, but that is one massive ramification from NIL these days is that guys just are not going early to the NFL the way they used to.